because you always used to act when like defenders.
I think it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Come on.
Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in each and every time. Do me a favor, smash the like button, like, comment, subscribe when this video premieres, and also in the comment section after. Make sure you're following me on Kick, on Twitch, both just Deluded. Gooner, support the platforms and all the Twitters and the Instagrams and the rest of it. Appreciative to have you lot tuned in here, people. Let's see in relation to what Arsenal's latest news is, or what's going on in relation to Arsenal and the tabloids, because there isn't too much to speak about regarding our club, people. So let me share my screen and let's get straight into it. Again, I'm having to use a different computer. Again, the screen isn't working on my typical one, so you'd notice we're not looking what we normally look like, but we don't make excuses. We keep going. Arsenal, Chelsea advancing in pursuit of deadly strike Barcelona negotiations stall. Where we heard that with Victor Roque. Allegedly, Team Talk understands Arsenal and Chelsea are both making progress as they look to sign Atletico Paranaense sensation Victor Roque, while Barcelona's discussions for the striker have stalled. Apparently, you know, they don't want to go for Zubimendi because he'll cost 40, 50, 60 million euros. That's someone I would love for Mikel Arteta to get into the club and obviously arrive at the carpet. But switching our attention back over to him, Roque, who is only 18 but is already making a name for himself in South America. He broke onto the scene for Atletico Paranaense last season and has already notched 4 goals in 7 games this term. He also had a great Brazilian campaign with his national team as his under-20 side, or Brazil's under-20 side, won the South American Championship, people. He also got 6 goals in 8 games there. I think with him and Endrick, I think they're the next stars, really and truly. But again, everybody's the next this, that, and the other at 17, 18. Barcelona, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Newcastle are just some of the teams to have been linked with his services. Last month, it was reported that Barcelona were close to snaring him, but they have lost ground and are now at serious risk of losing out to a Premier League outfit, people, and they've actually been linked with Carrasco. Transfer insider Graham Bailey, don't know how clued up he is, but he has told Team Talk, this publication, that Roque will definitely be available for transfer later this year as Atletico Paranaense simply cannot keep him. Team Talk can confirm that Barcelona had been leading the chase, but those negotiations have stalled due to the Spanish club's financial difficulties. Barca proposed an initial loan with an obligation to buy next year, but that has not gone down well in Brazil. Arsenal, Chelsea, most likely clubs to get Victor Roque. I think it means lots, but lost, as it says here. Premier League sides have looked into a potential deal, including Manchester United, Tottenham, Aston Villa, and West Ham. But Arsenal and Chelsea is far more advanced. Arsenal and Chelsea have both been in contact with Roque's camp. The two London clubs are pushing hard to sign him, as they know the opportunity to agree a transfer fee of 40 million euros. 35.1 is one that is simply too good to turn down, and he has a lot of potential. It's kind of skipping ahead, people, but again, this guy hasn't necessarily been linked with Arsenal, but if you remember, he was at Reims and he joined PSG, after being wanted by Barcelona last season, and it hasn't worked out for Hugo Ekitike at PSG. Now, if there is an opportunity to bag him, I would buy him because I still think he's got potential. I still think he's got real untapped potential. I would like a striker that takes us to the next level, that's immediately ready to raise the floor of this club and raise the curtains and whatnot, which he isn't necessarily, but I think he'll pay. You know, he's still only 20. I know we've got Balogun and Eddie, but I think he's got scope to be better than them. I think his ceiling is very high, and if there is an opportunity to get it done, why not, people? But according to L'Equipe, PSG are already looking to offload the 20-year-old this summer, with Newcastle United among the teams interested in the young French forward. On Tuesday, people, allegedly it's said that he wants to remain at Paris Saint-Germain and that Luis Campos, the club's sporting consultant, hasn't yet spoken to the player about a departure. While L'Equipe are certain that remains the case, the French publication adds that the former Reims forward's future lies elsewhere. Paris Saint-Germain are looking to offload Hugo Ekitike, who has just 4 goals in 27 appearances for the La Parisians, people. Again, according to a European recruiter contacted by L'Equipe, the club may favour a loan with a purchase option. This may prevent Les Parisians, PSG, from making a considerable loss on the player they signed on loan with an obligation to make permanent for 40 million. At the time that Ekitike made the move to Paris Saint-Germain, there were many other interested parties, notably Newcastle United, and he also was linked with Juventus, AC Milan, and Frankfurt. He's a bit of an exception of the rule. It hasn't worked out for him at Paris Saint-Germain. You know, you've only got Neymar, Mbappe, Messi, and probably a couple of others ahead of you competing for spots. But I still think he's got a lot of potential. If there was someone to get, I'll do it, people. But I don't think Arsenal's interest is going to go anywhere within that regards, people. So, yeah. Moving away from that, allegedly Arsenal, Monaco, Bayern Munich, and Borussia Dortmund have expressed an interest in signing Zaha. The player wants Champions League football, and this could be his last potential opportunity to go and get that, people. As you know, Zaha's contract is running down, people, so he'll be a free agent. And this article has said Arsenal in the running to sign Crystal Palace star. Player has Champions League ambitions going forward. On one hand, 2023, it feels like the boat has sailed for Zaha, in it. You can see he's losing a yard of pace, naturally declining. Still a devastating player, still a player that could hit the ground running, Premier League proven, doesn't necessarily kill the pathways of any emerging young talents at Arsenal, but it feels like the boat has sailed. And obviously, he's another one where not to be that guy and whatnot, but you know, he's going to be on big wages at 30 years of age, which I don't care what you get, you have to deliver. And as much as I like Zaha, and I don't think he kills the pathway, and I think he can play up front, play off the left, play off the right, is it really a curtain raiser? Probably not really. But he probably have that burning desire to be a success purely because this is his last opportunity, either at Arsenal or any of the clubs that we just said. With a contract expiring at the end of the season at Crystal Palace, Zaha was always going to be an attracting the attention, but few expected it to be this big. That's because Football Cartel claim a number of very big European clubs, including Arsenal, are eyeing up the Ivory Coast international on a free transfer. As you know, people, he looks set to leave Selhurst Park for the second time in his career once the season ends. So yeah, people, again, the Gunners alongside Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, AS Monaco are pursuing the 30-year-old. Big clubs, great clubs, you know. Bayern Munich could be a great job. Monaco, tax-free money as well. Dortmund, good club, Champions League and whatnot. Arsenal, it speaks for itself. At 30 years of age, people, it could be something that helps Arsenal, who has often been amongst the best dribblers in the Premier League. It's pointed out not every club will be able to afford him, as he'll likely want a big payday increase on his €6 million per year at Crystal Palace. So that probably means a couple of clubs will stay clear. This is likely being the last hefty contract in his career. Arsenal are in the running to sign him, and they stand a good chance of getting him since the players made it clear he wants to play in the Champions League next season. With that all but a guarantee at the Emirates next year, perhaps that could be enough to convince him to stay in London. All depends on what other clubs can offer him, with playing time likely to play a factor in his decision as well. Bayern Munich, you're going to have to take what minutes they can give you. Arsenal the same. Borussia Dortmund and Monaco, respectfully, you probably get a lot more game time over them sides, people. I bet this is this in relation to Ruben Neves? No, this is about Adama Traore. Don't nobody care about Adama Traore. As you know, Ruben Neves' career is winding down at Wolves, and he'll probably seek pastures new. Interestingly about Kante, though, apparently Kante's entourage has said N'Golo would like to continue his career in London, where he has his habits. He liked working with Conte, but he has been sacked by top contract at Chelsea before going to the Middle East in 2 or 3 years. I can't blame N'Golo Kante. You know, you've had a great career, you know, at Leicester, at Chelsea, picking up trophies, and France. Stay in London, go get your money. It feels like the boat's gone. Kante is a great player. If we was getting Kante over a couple of years ago, amazing. Even Kante of now, you know, who did he play? Was it Liverpool? I think he was with Chelsea. It weren't, you know, the 0-0 draw against Liverpool. I might be wrong, but he had a great game in that. So when he's fit, even there's a lot of quality with Kante. The problem is he's on big wages. He's had some problems with injuries. It wouldn't make sense for Arsenal. But if he was 10 years younger, or we could find the next N'Golo Kante, I'm all for it, people. But it's nice to hear we made an inquiry. I assume that was in January. Speaking of inquiries, people, if we skip here, apparently Arsenal tried to get Bennacer in January. It didn't bang. We tried to bring a former academy prospect back home. As you know, people, he signed a new contract at AC Milan. That one there is gone. But this article has said, despite the courtship of Arsenal, who, before closing for Jorginho, had tried seriously to bring the Algerian back home. As you know, he was in our academy. He is technically a former teammate of Arteta's, and he has the characteristics. I mean, I wouldn't say no. You know, they want Balogun, we want Bennacer allegedly. If we could find a common ground, I'm all for it. Yes, the fact that he's been here before, unfinished business. Arsenal, we're always going to waffle about young players that didn't get an opportunity. Daniel Marlin, Jeffrey Adelaide, you know, these guys haven't really gone on done things. But I've always said Yunus Musa, who we tried to keep, Gnabry, where we should have done better, and Bennacer, those are 3 players where they should really be in the squad now. And we should definitely have seen a lot more from Bennacer. Left-footed, tenacious, fits the midfield role like a glove. It would have been nice to bring you on at Anfield when we was under the cosh. He's also been linked with AC Milan, but the man signed a new deal, people. It doesn't rule out anything. But yeah, next summer we'll see Milan undergo a profound renewal on the market. Surprise names could be included in the transferable list. But Bennacer, who said no to various proposals between the Premier League and La Liga, because he is convinced that his present and future is called Milan. And he obviously has come a long way since his days at Empoli. Him, his young family, I'm sure they're happy at AC Milan. I know AC Milan are not having the best of seasons, but technically they're still in the Champions League. They won the, Italian First Division last season. Things are going well. They do need to rebuild, tie Rafa Leao down to a new deal. Diaz, as you can see in the shot here, is probably going to go back to Real Madrid. Zlatan and Giroud, who's signing a new deal, they're not going to be there forever. So, yeah, if he's comfy there, he's comfy there, innit, people? We've been linked with another wonder kid. I've only seen this guy on YouTube, people. But for what I see, he looks lit in it. Like, on a serious note, apparently Arsenal plot transfer for Brazilian wonder kid Matheus Gonçalves, dubbed Flamengo's best ever young prospect. In a day and age where you just need to play football at 15, 16, 17, 18 for 2 minutes and you're next this, that, the other. We need to take time, A lot of Brazilian youngsters, again, I'm not saying him, but all you got to say is the next Neymar, the next Vinicius, the next this, the next that, and the other. And people fail to understand that you need time. He's a young man, but allegedly, Arsenal are eyeing another Brazilian teenager after being alerted to Flamengo winger Matheus Gonçalves, and they've been advised to make a quick move for the exciting 17-year-old in a bid to fend off rival interest from Manchester City, where he'll join the City group, probably go on loan. Ajax will develop him and sell him, as they show with Anthony, to someone in the Prem for big money. Benfica know how to do this when you look at South American talent as well. Off the top of my head, Di Maria, David Luiz, and I'm sure some of you are at your screens probably got a lot more people. So, yeah, apparently the league leaders have an extensive network of talent scouts scouring the South American market under the direction of sporting director Edu. I mean, you saw what Martinelli did for us, together with producing what is Bukayo Saka and signing Martinelli for 6 million. How much money have we saved ourselves? Because you could argue both of them are costing conservative of 50 all the way to 100 million today's day and age. If Martinelli was at another club, or Saka definitely with the English taxes somewhere, again, it pays to do the due diligence. And even in cases like Marquinhos, where Marquinhos might go on and develop and be a great player for Arsenal, but if not, he signed him for 3 million. Turn that into 30. Reinvest, keep it moving. But in the past few years, they have been responsible for Gabriel Martinelli's £6 million move from Brazilian Minas Itano, as well as last summer's 3 million signing of Marquinhos, who's on loan, signed him from Sao Paulo, but he's on loan at Norwich. Now they are tracking the progress of right winger Gonçalves, who has been described as the best young prospect to ever come through the Flamengo Academy by former manager Dorival Jr. And Arsenal are aware of the buzz surrounding the left-footed teenager who only made his senior debut in October, but is already being tipped for future stardom in Europe. He's currently under contract until 2025, and his deal contains a staggering release clause of 88 million, but it wouldn't cost anything like that figure and could be available for as little as 2.5 million in the summer. Low risk. Obviously, I don't know when he turns 18, so you'd have to wait till then, but low risk. If worse comes to worse, turn that 2.5 million into 5. Keep it moving, really and truly. Make your money, make your bread, and just keep it moving. Not every Haaland prospect can make it, and we have seen Balogun linked with a whole host of clubs. Apparently, RB Leipzig have, 1 minute, Balogun might go to Lille to replace Jonathan David, or Balogun might go to Leipzig to replace Nkunku. Then you hear that Leipzig are interested in Jonathan David. So who really knows? But for what it's worth, Leipzig allegedly have already opened talks over a potential summer deal for Arsenal striker Folarin Balogun. That is according to a report from Sky Germany, who report that the Bundesliga side are eyeing the 21-year-old as a replacement for Christopher Nkunku. Folarin Balogun, of course, has had an outstanding season with Reims, scoring 18 times in Liga, and has left Arsenal with a problem heading into the summer. Some reports say we want 25 all the way to 50 million euros for the 21-year-old, soon to be 22. Reports this week noted Balogun does not plan to sign a new contract at Arsenal, as he does not want to be the first choice forward for Mikel Arteta's side. I don't think that's true. It's because he's not being given, that is why. So they've been they've remixed that. And apparently Leipzig have opened talks. And have they placed a bid? Maybe they're talking indirectly with his agent and indirectly linking up with Balogun, as such is football. But have they placed a bid? Have they had a bid accepted? Have Arsenal given permissions? So when you look beyond the headline, probably not direct channels. Maybe indirectly his agents fielding these calls, but directly, can't imagine Arsenal have accepted or been offered anything while the season is still going on. And to be fair, the best thing Balogun can do is focus on his football, whether he makes it at Arsenal, goes to Marseille, Monaco, Inter, AC, Leipzig, you know, Borussia Dortmund, a bunch of clubs have been linked with him. In an ideal world, you sign a new deal and given a new deal at Arsenal, or you go on loan to the Premier League. I think Crystal Palace would be the great place for him, really, assuming they don't sign a striker. According to a report from Sky Germany, Leipzig are now in talks to sign Balogun from Arsenal, but there are a couple of hurdles which Leipzig may have to clear if they hope to get a deal across the line. The report notes that Arsenal want at least 35 million for Balogun. Meanwhile, it's highlighted that plenty of clubs have their eye on the youngster, so they will not have a clear run to his signature. Unfortunately for Arsenal, it appears that getting the biggest fee possible may represent the best outcome this summer. Balogun is not prepared to wait around for his opportunity, and with the likes of Gabriel Jesus, Leandro Trossard, Eddie Nketiah already in the ranks, and there's also reports Arteta would like another striker, there's every chance that he may have to be patient if he was part of Mikel Arteta's plans next season. In an ideal world, Arsenal would keep him. Arteta believes Balogun is a phenomenal player, but selling him for a big fee to a club like Leipzig may make a lot of sense. And I don't think that, to be fair, I don't think that article is necessarily wrong. And Gravenberch of Bayern Munich, another youngster who's struggling at a big club to really get significant game time. Reports from 90 Minute have revealed that Arsenal are currently monitoring Bayern Munich midfielder Ryan Gravenberch. The North London side, alongside Manchester United and Liverpool, have all asked to be kept informed on the future of the Dutch star. The Gunners are looking at the possibility of signing Gravenberch in the summer transfer window. It's also unclear whether the player is in the plans of Thomas Tuchel, their new manager. Due to this, there's a possibility the midfielder will become available for an unknown price in the summer transfer window. Arsenal allegedly are monitoring him along with others. He's 20 years of age. He's played 100 times for Ajax, so there's a base there. He's not the finished article, and players that are the finished article struggle at the Bayerns, the Madrids, so on and so forth. So he's not the first. He won't be the last. You know, everything he's learned at Ajax, he needs to take that, and he probably needs to relearn. Because look at, bro, you got Kimmich there, you got Holy, Goretzka, you got whole heap of talented players. Gravenberch at 20 years of age is experienced, but inexperienced going into the Champions League for me anyways. I think Arsenal need a bit more experience and curtain raisers, but I'm having him. You've seen what Mikel Arteta is doing with the young players. Martinelli, 14 league goals. Saka, another standout season. You know, Smith Rowe last year. Obviously, Benjamin White improving. Ramsdale, Gabriel, Saliba, so on and so forth. Even experienced players like Saka, he would tie into what we have. I mean, the man's at 8, you know, really. And if he's available for relatively cheap, which I can't imagine Bayern are going to do, bring him, man. He's a great talent and it needs to be nurtured. Obviously, he's been linked with Man United. Ten Hag gave him his debut, so I don't think he'll forget that anytime soon, people. What does this mean? Osimhen says he wants to follow in Aubameyang's footsteps. Does that mean sign for Arsenal? Or does that mean go Chelsea? What does that mean? Or does that mean misbehave yourself under Mikel Arteta? We ain't got no chance of Osimhen, but and if we put the bread down, but who knows? He's been linked once again with Arsenal, a bit like Vlahovic. You're naturally pessimistic on these rumors. Smash the like button, subscribe, and that, you know, let's boost the engagements, people. I don't know, but what specifically has he said? Oh, he wants to win African Footballer of the Year. Fair enough. Big up you for that. You should want to go and get that. That could be a good look. Gravenberch, going back to this anyways, on his own future, Gravenberch has said, I'm still convinced in my choice to join Bayern, and I don't regret it at all. I had certainly hoped and also expected I would play more at Bayern. So far, it's not gone at Bayern, but if that doesn't work out and I don't get opportunities, then maybe I should look elsewhere. At the moment, however, I'm not so concerned with that, and I hope that I can change my situation at Bayern. Fair enough, fair enough. Let's see what McAllister has said here, people, because I ain't seen that. Arsenal in contact with Reece Nelson after new deal. Fair enough. What's this McAllister thing? Let's see what this is. Big up you lot for tuning in. He's focused on his, well, naturally he's going to be focused on what Brighton are doing, and they stand a good chance of being in Europe. It doesn't make sense him looking at all the clubs that are interested. He probably knows McAllister's probably held indirect talks with his next club, but for all players, it's you best just focusing on your season and then taking it from there. Arsenal, Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, all allegedly interested in him at various degrees. Several clubs allegedly have been in contact with the player's camp in Brighton, but any potential deal naturally will have to wait. And before the end of the season to listen to offers for Alexis. In this moment, he's really happy at Brighton. Fair enough, man. We can't say anything else, really. I do imagine there's, people are meeting up in fancy hotels all around Europe and fancy restaurants and having indirect meetings and things like that. So we'll have to see how these things are going, people. We'll have to see. What's that comment on Balogun? Again, this was said last month, people, but I think it makes sense for Balogun to say that. He said, contractually, I have to go back because the loan was only for 1 year. So that was always the agreement. I'm not sure what is going to happen in the future. A lot could happen in football. A lot could change. And it just depends on the conversations we have between me and the club in the summer. And we'll see what happens. He said, yeah, there's no door that's closed. Of course, I've had a good year here. And to a lot of people, it makes sense for me to come back here. So, yeah, I don't know what the future will bring. And again, it makes sense to keep his cards close to his chest. Probably a week now, Arsenal have been linked with Baku of Wolfsburg, people, a fullback able to play in the free. Not really convinced on him, people. He does attack well. I'm not too sure on his 1v1 defending, but if Mikel Arteta is convinced on that, then who am I to say no? He has 5 goals and 1 assist in 26 Bundesliga appearances, people. Last season, he had 8 goal involvements. And again, primarily in the achy on him, people, but for what it's worth, he's very open to leaving Wolfsburg and would jump at the opportunity to move to the Premier League. His contract is expiring in 2025. Also, he's available for 13 million, so that might make sense. It says Arsenal actually explored a move for a right back in the January transfer window and entered into talks with Real Valladolid over teenage sensation Ivan Fresnadar, though they came away empty-handed. Bring him. I want Fresnadar. That's the top target for me, people, if I'm completely honest with you. Again, Arsenal want Jonathan David to replace Balogun, if you believe that. I don't believe it. We've been linked with him since his days in Belgium. So if we were going to get him, we would, in it, but who knows? This is said Rob Holding could have an extended future at Arsenal. Dean Jones allegedly on Rob Holding has said he's not going to be looking for a move because I think he's still got a role to play in that team, especially with the number of competitions they'll be in and the amount of games they'll have next season. I still think he might actually be important. Big up Rob Holding. If I'm honest, we do need to be bringing in a centre back of a higher caliber and keeping a couple of others fit, because if Tomiyasu and Benjamin White, if Tomiyasu was fit, I reckon Tomiyasu would have been the one playing these games. But Tomiyasu's, by his own standards, been quite poor this season, bar the man marking job against Salah, and he can't stay fit. Anytime you can't stay fit, essentially you're a liability. To wrap this up, let's see exactly what Bukayo Saka has said. Saka on Liverpool, West Ham and Arteta's influence. He has said the boys were really disappointed after the game because we all wanted to win, but we can't change that, so we have to switch the focus to Sunday against West Ham. It's really important. We all know that, so we'll try and be ready for the game to give our best and to get the 3 points. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm satisfied with a point against Liverpool. We wanted to go there and get all 3, so there's a bit of frustration inside me that we didn't do that. It's a stadium I've never won at, so I thought that would be the best opportunity and timing to do it, but we couldn't do it, which is a shame. He then went on to say, as players, we really want to do this. We know that everything is in our hands and we just have to keep going game by game. If we win these last 8 games and get some good results, the title can be ours. So we just have to stay focused. It's a long season and we have to be consistent all the way through. So that's what we'll try to do. The semi-final, because it's massive and so important as both teams are fighting at the top. It's really close, so it'll be a massive game. Boy, you saw what they did to Bayern Munich. City look like they've hit their stride. They look scary. He then went on to say, on Mikel Arteta, I've learned a lot and I'm progressing in the right way, so I'm happy. I just hope at the end of the season, those goals and assists will be very important and they'll mean a lot for the team. Arteta has taught me a lot. I have to thank him for the way I'm developing, because a lot of it is because what he's doing for me. You have to be ready for everything that comes, and that's one thing that I've tried to do, be ready for every moment and try to take it. So as much as it's about improving on the field, the mentality, not that Saka has never had great mentality, really. A date's been confirmed for the FA Youth Cup final as well versus West Ham, people. That will be on Tuesday, the 25th of April at 7 p.m. at the Emirates Stadium. Hopefully, we can obviously, after beating Newcastle, Watford, Cambridge, City, and Millwall, we can crown that off with a victory. You know, as we know, the last time we won it, Jack Wilshere was a player. How fitting would it be if him as under 18s gaffer won it? And it'd be nice for them, you know, for Miles and Ethan and Lino and Bradley Ibrahim and the rest of it to win. It'd be nice for us fans. Every year I say I want to win the FA Youth Cup. But with that being said, people, we've gone through the latest talking points. Let me know your thoughts. Comment, subscribe, turn on the notification bell. Check out the rest of the video, including the playlist. Make sure you're following on Apple Music, Spotify, Kick, Twitch, all of that good stuff. Information's in the description. Stay blessed, stay safe. I'm out.
There's always just that active red flag, defending.
I've been given like